Same. I think Vida has stopped watching the EPL as well. So
Is he
it's
a Man U fan?
You
Manchester
guessed it
United
right.
fan, I'm
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Well, the game started around 1 o'clock in the 90s. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's my excuse.
I don't know how Dimut Karnaratne is scoring runs, to be honest, because he's just test matches and then nothing, and then
Yeah.
again test matches. So you can't face the top teams in the world with preparation like that. So South Africa definitely have the players. It's just that I don't want to say the word, but you guys know.
Welcome to another interview episode of Sri Lankan Cricket Podcast with Vida and Dora. Today we have a special guest with us. She was our first guest on this podcast. Welcome back, Estelle.
Hi guys, thank you so much for having me again.
Yeah, it's good to have you back, Estelle. We started our interview episode. You've been our first person we interviewed. Excited to have you back. Getting straight into the interview for today. I guess Women's World Cup's kicked off. That will be, I think, a main topic of our interview today. We'll touch base about Sri Lanka. Unfortunately, not the best result to talk about, so we'll try to pass through that really quickly. But I mean, Estelle's knows the ground level insights into what our prep is and what has been happening. So hopefully we can pick her brains on that. But it's going to be an exciting episode when we touch base with Estelle on Sri Lanka cricket as a whole.
Yeah, last time we spoke, we introduced Estelle and we heard her story, how she fell in love with sports and cricket. And if you want to go back and listen to that episode, you will learn a lot about her and her passion about sports and cricket. And she's the first person we think of when we want to know what's happening in Sri Lanka cricket, especially women's cricket. So I'll put it right back to you, Estelle. What's happening with Sri Lanka women's cricket at the moment in Sri Lanka?
Yeah, well, following the qualification to the Commonwealth Games earlier this year, I think the team, from what I've heard, are in kind of training and preparation for the confirmed fixtures we have so far. Unfortunately, nothing, no bilaterals or any such series confirmed for the year so far. But we've got the Commonwealth Games in July and August in Birmingham. So that will be a T20 competition, and then the Asian Games in September as well. So those two will be the main aims. I think a massive year for women's cricket globally. Sri Lanka missing out on the World Cup, like you said, but those two will be the main two events they're focusing on after quite a successful qualification for the Commonwealth Games.
Exciting. Unfortunately, Sri Lanka didn't make it to the event that is being held at the moment, ICC 50 over tournament for the women's. It's kicked off and some known names already off the blocks early with some of the high scores that they've put in. It would have been for us, if the Sri Lankans are out there, I guess Chamari would have been a front runner as well to bring home. I mean, looking at some of the names, some regulars like Sophie Devine, Rachel Haynes, Meg Lanning, and the Aussie girls will be kicking off strong as well. With Elisa Healy yet to settle in and get a big score, but those are known performance, and Chamari would have been up there as well, is the feeling I had, but unfortunately we couldn't make it through. Looking at your appearance today, looks like you are on the Aussie girls. Is that a fair assessment? Or?
Yeah, definitely. So Australia is always my number 2 team after Sri Lanka. Yeah. So no Sri Lanka this time. So going the Aussie way.
No, that's nice. So we know who you're supporting or your favorites going into this World Cup there.
What about you, Bora? I'm supporting England because I think they're catching up to Aussies for a chance.
Really?
Because who do you think will win it?
I'm with the Aussie girls. Rachel Haynes. Got Elisa Healy and Elise Perry. Those are, Elise Perry and Elisa Healy has been two of my favorite cricketers out there, and I need to touch base. Beth Mooney was strong, one of a follower I had, but she had a bit of an injury scare just off the Ashes. So
Yeah.
it'll be I think she'll play a part.
She's
in
back.
this World
She's
Cup.
back.
So she'll be another front runner I'd like to see.
Yeah. I want to quickly touch up about the format, Bora and Estelle.
Yep.
So everyone plays everyone in the first round. So 8 teams, so that's 7 matches. So this is the first time Women's World Cup has been played like this, isn't it? Any comments about the format?
Yeah, I think that I think this is a perfect format if your objective is to really get the best team or the best teams through to the knockout stages, because it's not going to be a favorite getting knocked out for having a one-off game or whatever. So I think it's a really good format, but it works against some of the weaker sides, because then they have to consistently perform well. Like, for example, West Indies had a pretty big upset, I think, in the tournament opener when they defeated New Zealand. But I mean, they still have to beat a few more top teams like India, England, Australia, if they want to kind of push towards the top 4.
Yeah. When I saw that, I was thinking about Sri Lanka, because normally it takes some time for us to gather momentum in a World Cup. So if we were there, that 7 games, I mean, if we knocked over a couple of good teams, we could have had a good chance to make it to the semi-finals, but we are not there. So there's no point talking about that.
Without talking about formats, I think there were some interesting rules that came about in this year's ICC tournament. I think you can go up to a minimum of 9 players if there's COVID. I think that was one of the major ones I noticed. How would a 9-player 11 look at? Is that something teams would look at playing and training against a 9-team match or 9-player match, or how would the prep go, Estelle? Like, I mean, if Sri Lanka was involved, you think they would have considered what strategy to go with 19 player, or was it just one of those odd rules they just put it so there are teams participating?
Yeah, I think considering the number of players each squad has on hand, it's in my opinion kind of unlikely that it will go into a situation where team needs to have can only field 9 players, because I think they have the 15-member squad and then they also have the traveling reserves. But mostly the reason is probably because the qualification tournament, which was cancelled, basically it was all because of COVID. Sri Lanka was one of the hardest hit teams during that tournament, where it's not only the person who has tested positive, then their close contacts, everyone else has to isolate. So I think also now the kind of the isolation periods and all have reduced, so I don't see a team being forced into that. But they also, I mean, they are allowed to have 2 support staff as long as they're female as well.
So, I saw that.
That it'd be interesting to see, because I'm sure each team has at least a couple of support staff, coaching members who are ladies. So yeah, it'd be interesting.
They have to be locals, I assume. I assume they have to be locals to be playing for the country.
I don't think they have to be locals. No, they have to just be part of the team support staff. Yeah. But no, they can't bat or bowl.
Yeah, they can only field.
Yeah, only field.
Yeah, so it's worst come to worst. That's like the last solution, I guess. Like, it'll be interesting if this happens. Like, imagine in a World Cup final, a support staff taking a run out or a catch to win it. It'll be really interesting. I mean, we talked about who we are supporting. Who do we think are favorites to win? I'll start with you, Bora. Then we'll move to Estelle.
Australia favorites, man. Going defending champions, playing in New Zealand. Their team's just getting stronger. Alana King's now a strong performer. She's a spinning wicket-taking option. And the likes of who I said, Rachel Haynes has stepped up. She's not a regular high performer you normally see. It's normally between Elisa Healy, Meg Lanning, Ellis Perry, Talia McGrath should be there.
Yeah. Darcy Brown.
Yeah, so many players that are popping up. They'll be strong contenders. But come the knockouts, come a semi-final, could be like could have an upset. But the format Australia plays, the 50 over format, makes them be in the game and be able to play a lot of oppositions from the game, unlike a T20 competition. That's where I see Australia just ahead of the pack. Your England's, they will give them a run for their money, but I think the teams such quality at a quality level. It's again these teams become more mature. These teams like that senior group, they've seen everything. They are serious performers in that circuit. For me, it's Australia straight away. So
Estelle?
Yeah, like Bora said, it's got to be Australia. I think they've lost 2 matches since the 2017 World Cup in ODI cricket, and won like 30 something, including 26 match win streak. So I mean, it's really hard to look past them on that front. Also, I think the fact of the matter is, like Bora mentioned some names, big names, but the truth is, it's not. You if you look at the record over the last 5 years, you've had a lot of different players stepping up, like someone like Rachel Haynes, although doesn't get their poster girls are Elise Perry, like Meg Lanning and Alyssa Healy. But someone like Rachel Haynes, Talia McGrath has had a massive 12 months in limited overs cricket. Those people have really stepped up, and that's their strength. It's just that at no point do they look like they're out of the game. They can win from anywhere. I think they played a series a couple of months ago against India where they were something like 120 for 5, chasing 270. They basically lost the entire top order. Had only Beth Mooney in, they still chased that down. So and that was on the back of Talia McGrath, Sophie Molineux coming in. So they are definitely favorites, but I think someone like South Africa could be real dark horses in the competition, because Australia haven't played them in the last couple of years, and they've got a really good squad. Of course, they're missing their regular captain, Dani van Niekerk, but they've got a really good team. I think there's like a second tier. So Australia overwhelming favorites, but then you've got England, India, South Africa, New Zealand next, and then you've got also West Indies who can cause a few upsets. So it come the semi-finals should be really interesting tournament if the top kind of teams get through to that part.
Yeah, I think you're right, because all the other teams you two mentioned, they have their key players and they depend on them to win matches for them. But with Australia, even if the the well-known batsmen or bowlers perform, there's someone put their hand up to win the game for them, and they have enough strength in their bench as well. So I think I have to agree with both of you. Australia are the favorite, but I'm still backing England to make an upset, because I think some of these teams are catching up to Australia. I know they are setting that benchmark high.
But I think on that, like even in the last World Cup, people were saying that because they lost the semi-final to India and got knocked out, and it was like devastation. But every time people think they're getting kind of close. So, even the tournament opener against England should have chased it down. It was England's game to lose. But somehow Australia found a way to get through. So I hope I don't jinx them by saying this, but
that's signs of an invincible Australian team, pretty much. Players to watch out. Apart from the Australian stars, a girl I'm closely following is Amelia Kerr. She's the all-rounder from New Zealand. I think this will be a good, playing at home, good opportunity for her to, step into some of the bigger players that are there in this World Cup. She's scored big, she's taken wickets. So I'd like to see how she settles into a tournament and steps up, because she's, I think, 21 or 22-year-old girl who's settling into international cricket. I mean, she has an experience. That's a player who I'd like to follow apart from the Australian mix. So let's see what she has on offer. That's a person I am looking out for. Estelle and Vida. How about yourself?
There are quite a few, I think, who kind of had a good run up to the tournament. Like you said, Amelia Kerr is definitely one to watch. New Zealand, haven't kind of been on the down low, but considering how they played against India in the last series, they've really, it's a home tournament. So I mean, they've got the top order. I think probably one of the best top orders in the competition, with Devine and Bates and Kerr right at the top. And in terms of people from New Zealand, I would say even Jessica, Amelia's sister, is really one to watch. Can get those boundaries later on in the innings, and is really good with the new ball as well. Hayley Matthews making kind of a comeback into form, made 100 to start off the tournament. Another really bright star in terms of women's cricket. And for South Africa, Sunil Lewis, the captain, and Ayabonga Kaka, two others who I think have a lot to prove. South Africa definitely have the players. It's just that I don't want to say the word, but you guys know the word.
Yeah, we know what happens
South
to
Africa
them.
cricket.
We know what happens
So
to them.
yeah, but I mean they've definitely got the players to go all the way this time, and I'd love to see someone like New Zealand or South Africa go all the way, actually.
Yeah,
Interesting. I think, yeah.
If New Zealand to win, I think Sophie Devine has to have she'll have to score massive runs, because she's the one who can get those big hundreds and win games.
Yeah,
I'm interested to see how Darcy Brown goes. She's young and she's quick. It's very rare to see a women cricketer bowling 125 plus, and some of these girls are bowling those deliveries consistently. It's really exciting to see that. Even in the test match against England, it makes things very interesting. Like sometimes test cricket is boring, but that test match went till the last ball. I mean, it's one of the good test matches I watched in my life. I mean, which is really good for women's cricket. They talk about the financial side is it's really hard to get people to watch women's cricket, but I think that's changing. I think that's a good segue to talk about what's the interest of the public in Sri Lanka about the World Cup, Estelle. Is there much interest, or is it showing on TV?
Yeah, so we don't have it on free to air TV, so not on local channels. You can follow if you've got cable. You can follow it on TV. Wow. I don't think, to be honest, I don't think there's much of an interest in terms of the tournament as a whole, because Sri Lanka didn't make it through. Because I mean, even colleagues who, I mean, usually you guys know I like to play fantasy sports, so usually we have something in our organization, guys, girls, everyone involved, but this time not much of an interest because Sri Lanka is not involved. So I think judging, and those are the sports crazy people, so if they are not interested, I don't really see that much of an interest in the tournament. But I mean, it being on TV could be a massive factor. Unfortunately, it's not. So I mean, that's what, at the end of the day, that's what draws people into getting involved in the game. So yeah, too bad, but what to do with 8 teams in a World Cup, it's really hard to kind of get that interest from the non-participating teams.
Yeah. I guess at least they'll be watching the women's cricket rather than the guys play out in India with the current situation. So then I mean, it's good viewing, and for a younger generation, I mean, it's on TV to see women's cricket play. Yes, we'd like to see Sri Lanka make it there, but unfortunately we fell short on getting there for circumstances that, I mean, we had the qualifiers didn't go out to plan. So, but nonetheless, cricket moves on. We got opportunities to see and then be part of it. I guess a good way for us to think about is, okay, what's the future? Where do Sri Lanka? I think you touched base about not having straight away bilateral series signed up, probably because all countries are busy with the ICC event. Next straight away assignment, is there a tournament that we will be?
The confirmed assignment is the Commonwealth Games in
Yeah.
Birmingham. So that will be July, August.
Okay.
Before that, there isn't anything. I mean, we can only hope that SLC is able to organize something.
Yeah.
What's sad is, I'm sorry, this is like doom and gloom, but I mean, if you look at the past series we have had, it's only those that have been part of the ICC Women's Championship. So actually, that has ensured that we play every other team. So with that not in place yet, it's going to be tough. Hopefully, at least we can play someone like Pakistan or Bangladesh or India in the coming months, because I mean there's still five months to go for the Commonwealth Games. So hopefully they can get some game time in that period, but you never know, because that's what we were looking forward to since 2020, but it never kind of materialized.
Okay.
Yeah, that Commonwealth Game tournament is like a mini World Cup, isn't it? It's only 8 teams, and only team, there's no West Indies team, but one of the islands, Barbados is. So it'll be like a World Cup. So if we can win the medal there, that'll be a big achievement for us.
Yeah, I think that will be a massive opportunity. But the thing is, it's like, I mean, if it was a men's tournament, you'd have like under 23 guys or whatever.
Yeah.
But this, I'm sure most teams are going to be sending their full strength squads because it's the first time that the tournament will happen at a Commonwealth Games. I think Asian Games is a very good opportunity to maybe push towards a goal, because I don't know if India will participate or whether they'll send a full strength team. So they are obviously the top team in Asia. So we might have an opportunity there. That will be in September.
Oh, okay.
That's good. You reckon there'll be a lot of players shuffling or movements happening with, I mean, not having played cricket for a time, or we'll manage to hold the shape of the main team in terms of your Chamaris, but senior crew still being there?
Yeah, I think we'll probably stick with that kind of 22-25 group that was involved in Commonwealth qualifiers training and all of that, because there haven't been really domestic tournaments to pick from either. So they'll have to stick with that. And I think they've also kind of, in a sense, they've managed to work together and kind of build that team spirit and all of that, got it going. Because we did see in the Commonwealth Games, apart from Chamari, there were a couple of good performances, I think. People like Nilakshi De Silva, even the vice captain Harshita Samaravikrama had a decent tournament. So little small signs of growth. So hopefully they stick with those two, that group of people for this year as well.
Nice.
We need to keep playing games. That's the only way for us to improve. We need more matches. I saw there's a possibility of Pakistan Super League women's tournament happening. There might be a few opportunities for our cricketers to go and play there if that happens. So, and the other one is the 100. And it's about time if we can launch a Lankan Premier League women's version, that'll be awesome. Like, those are things we can do to promote women's cricket.
Yeah.
It'll have to go hand in hand with the provinces to align women's cricket. If women's cricket on its own, having a club that functions as women's cricket alone, I don't think it will survive. They need the provinces or the stronger clubs to have it. Like, I think we spoke briefly about the NCC, SSCs. They need to step in and have avenues into women's cricket through those setups, because it's easy to fall under one umbrella and move through. With us having a chat on women's cricket and the World Cup going on, I was hoping to slowly squeeze into India and see where our boys are at. Would you like to have a quick chat on Sri Lanka? Because I think there's a lot of noise with when Sri Lanka don't do well. But you've been there, you've seen the boys go through their ups and downs. Your thoughts on this series? I know, like, for me, I think it was an uphill task for us going into this test series. So I'm not really surprised with the results, but however, I mean, we could have minimized some of the, I think it's minimize the result in terms of how we lost would be a better way to put it through.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, India's full strength. They've got all their bowlers. I think actually they played Jayant Yadav. If they'd played Siraj, that would have been an even stronger bowling attack from their end. And in terms of batting, also they are at full strength. So it was always going to be tough. But like you said, it's the manner in which things went. I mean, the bowling, conceding that amount of runs, and I guess not playing the second spinner and then having Lahiru Kumar break down like 11
It's
overs
not the first time.
I guess, okay.
It's
For me, okay, how do you manage him when he hasn't played first class cricket? Like,
No,
how does he
it's,
bowl? Yeah,
we can't
to
blame
me,
him.
it's a management issue, because I mean, he can run 2 kilometers in under 2 minutes, sure, but can he bowl for 2 hours?
Yeah,
That's where I think nothing. Even I love the fitness standards. Is absolute must in today's sport, definitely. But also you need to think of things like this. I know a lot of people talk about people like Chaminda Vas bowling 1.5 hours at a stretch in the nets. So Lahiru Kumar, I think this is like the 4th time since 2019 where he's broken down in the middle of a test. And that leaves, I mean, the team basically with 3 bowlers, right? And then you have only 1 spinner. Abudania, who again has not played first class cricket for so long. Is he able to bowl? Like, I mean, you had Murali bowling an entire session or entire day on one end. You can't expect that from a bowler who's not had that kind of like that kind of training coming in, right? I mean, you can practice in the nets, but you know, in a match, bowling 20 overs at a stretch is not the same. So there's a lot of thinking to be done. I think I don't know how Dimut Karnaratne is scoring runs, to be honest, because he's just test matches and then nothing, and then again test matches. So you can't face the top teams in the world with preparation like that.
Very fair assessment. I'll go into the 11 of, I guess the easy answer for me with Lahiru Kumar. Yes, he's injury prone on the longer format, but because of this is Sri Lanka has been right throughout. We always bank the extra batter against the batting collapse, and we give 4 bowlers. So we put the owners on 1 spinner and 3 fast bowlers, or whatever the combination is, to get out of jail. But that doesn't work in modern cricket. Like Australia has moved on. Australia plays now with Cameron Green. They make sure they have 5 bowlers in that 11. So, and we found out when Lahiru Kumar breaks down in a game, it's a lot of workload for everyone else. I guess going into not having played cricket or throughout in a format where it's a lot of mental skills, which test your patience. You gotta lock away some of the shots that you can't use in other like you've been using in other formats, and I think we saw most of the guys fishing outside our stump or having playing shots where, I mean, you wouldn't play normally. That's that mind strength that hasn't been trained or by batting long periods or playing in games to simulate that big. So I think you're right in that aspect. I mean, Surangal Akmal, he's going to counter cricket for 2 years. An ideal scenario would be, let's get our boys playing counter cricket while playing for the country, not be yep, see you later, and then he's gone. We lose something. So like a Dimut, like I said, Dimut, ideal scenario would be to be part of county cricket and then use that expertise back again for us. So, and this is a tough tour also India. I mean, I was thinking, I think we spoke before we went on live, if we manage to bowl in good areas and at least, 350 on the first day track, you're getting smacked around the park. If we didn't do that, the test match would have gone into maybe 4 days of test cricket, and we would have thought, oh, hang on. A lot of teams results do come in 4 days, especially in the subcontinent. We would have looked back and things would have been a lot less damaging, but I think that set the tone. We didn't know where it was. We were like, hang on, there's no end to this because we got to get them out, unlike a T20 or a 20 or a 50-over game where there's an end to it. So they are learning the hard way. But I can't remember when the last time we played a test series. Was that West Indies? We beat in
December. We played West Indies
December.
End November, early December.
So three matches here, and I mean, when we played that, we played two left-arm spinners, and now they again looks like they're banking on DDS to be that spinner for the team when against the world's best players or spin. I doubt that'll work.
This squad doesn't have an off spinner. I think that losing Ramesh Mendis was a big blow because he would have probably played as that all-rounder. So that was the problem. In a sense, I felt like they wanted to kind of have as much variety as possible. So you had the left armer, then the left arm spinner. You had a guy who can bowl really fast and a guy who kind of moves the ball. Sort of like they covered all bases. But I mean, because if Kumara didn't break down, I think it would have been pretty handy because the ball was moving. There was a bit of reverse as well.
We took 6 wickets for 240 or something. I can't remember the exact score. But then after that, we were never in it after that. So,
I'm a massive fan of Sir Jadeja, and when I saw him score, I kind of felt it's going to be a big score. I didn't think he'll score 170. I thought he'll get to his 100 because he normally, like even against the better teams, he scores a 50 coming down, and I think that's a sign that they knew, hang on, good time to get a good score, and he managed to do it. So it was near perfect game. He almost pulled out a hat-trick, 10 wickets. So
could have gone for a double 100 as well, I think. I mean,
we could have made it Jadeja versus Sri Lanka. So, but
you only needed 2 more overs.
Yeah, true.
Maybe over.
But I mean, a lot of milestones. Sri Lanka playing its 300 test match. Kohli, I mean, what a phenomenal record he's at. 100 games. Sri Lanka, it took us 300 games to get here. Kohli's done it, already hit 100 games in now. How such a short span of cricket, it almost shows where the modern game's at, how busy India is. I mean, we've been playing since that, ages, right? Arjun Rantung was 18 when he captained, was part of the first test that Sri Lanka played, and we are now at 300. Virat Kohli comes in 100 games already under the belt. So that's how busy India is, and such a powerhouse. I mean, they're mild-made. That's how I see it. So, but you reckon we manage to claw back or win the toss and hope for the best?
I mean, looking at the team, the batting should be able to do something, I think, better than what they did in the first game, because that lineup, Pathum Nisanka had a fantastic, start to his career. Dimut Karunaratne has made a lot of runs in the last 12 months. So has Thirimana. That's your top 3. You've got Dhananjay De Silva, who has made a lot of runs. Niroshan Dickwala, before his ban, also made a lot of runs. Of course, we haven't faced like bowling attacks like this. And India is going to be the toughest challenge you're going to face. I think probably the hardest in Test cricket right now is to win in India. But they should be able to do something better. I think Dimuth is obviously the key because he can play those long innings, and Pathum Nisanka is really really impressive. I think you think he's a decent limited overs player, but when you see him in Test cricket, he's a few steps above that as well.
Yeah.
So disappointing because like you spoke about the loose shots, like even someone like Dikwal, when it's I haven't played international cricket, but I can see the trap they've set for him, right? They've got the players out for the sweep shot, and Jadeja is bowling at him with the ball spinning in, and he still goes for it. Whereas in the second innings, he only played that shot against the off spinner when there was no one out, which was obviously the smart thing to do. So I think it's like India is good, they've got quality, but you have to control what you can control, and I didn't think the batters did that in the first game.
No,
I think you're absolutely right.
Makes you mad when you see that, like thinking, what do you think? What do you? And even you talked about Suranga. I mean, you can't blame him, but the 2 shots he played, the way he got out. Oh, I switched off the TV and I just walked away.
One thing also,
I think if there's a collapse, you don't send Suranga Lakma. You send like Vishwa or Ambuldenia. Ambuldenia is pretty solid, right? Defense is pretty solid. So because Lakma is just gonna go for it. He's not gonna change the way he plays, no matter the situation.
He's not gonna knuckle down in his last 2 Test matches. So he's just go out with the flow. I think key thing what I've picked up is playing in India, we're playing with an SG bowl. So I think that is a factor as well. Our guys are not used to that, and how to battle through playing against SG ball could be a reason where we are struggling. So, but one more Test match to go. Hopefully, can get something positive. Pathum Nisanka, 100%. He's like he bats miles ahead of the rest of the crew. So he's becoming, every game he plays, he's becoming a wow factor for us to watch because he's showing so many signs of maturity. Like biggest thing was T20, no one thought he could hit a long ball. He hit the long ball. Now he's showing maturity in batting in at a different spot and trying to bat long, which is showing those signs. So he's one of those rare batters that we've picked up, and hopefully we can keep him in the cage to bring us, bigger results.
I think that's a good way to ask. What's other than covering cricket, what else you've been working on these days, Estelle?
Nothing much these days because Sri Lanka so far, not much of the other sports have really kind of gotten going. So at the moment it's Sri Lanka, India, and then we have a pretty long break with no international cricket coming up, but hopefully some schools cricket and such come up. Looking forward to, it's a pretty busy year in terms of events. So the Commonwealth, the Asian Games, World Cup coming up later this year. So busy year, hopefully a few opportunities to, attend the events in person. But yeah.
So
England will be good.
Invitation for you to be here in Melbourne covering the T20 World Cup, and hopefully you can get
hopefully
that'll be
that's the goal, but
keep sport in the Aussie jersey, so
I might, that's not a bad idea. Defending champions.
Yeah, true. Yep, exactly right. I guess just a quick, since we're on question and answers, I think I had a question lined up. You like your fantasy games playing? Do you take part? Are you still playing in the fantasy football leagues, or is there a cricket league that you started?
I'm not playing the football because EPL is a long investment.
Are
it
you
goes
like
on.
are you like Vida?
I'm playing
not
the Women's World Cup fantasy,
playing-
which is like easier to do because it's like a couple of weeks, but
Yeah.
no more EPL because I don't watch the games. So
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, too much of an
Same.
investment in terms of time.
Same. I think Vida has stopped watching the EPL as well. So
Is he a Man U fan?
You
Manchester
guessed it
United
right.
fan, I'm
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Well, the other thing is the games start around 1 o'clock in the night here. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's my excuse. Other than that, our listeners ask for book recommendations and movie recommendations sometimes. So if you have any streaming recommendations, we would like to hear
Oh
that.
man. Yeah, so what have I watched recently? I watched the Witcher season 2. Was
Ah,
pretty okay. Movies. Haven't watched anything new lately. Got Don't Look Up lined up.
yeah,
Maybe watch that sometime soon. I heard it's good.
yeah, I watched it. It's
Um,
good. No spoilers. Don't worry.
I mean, the trailer is pretty much a big spoiler, isn't it? Like,
No, it's good. It's good.
I have a book recommendation though. It's a really
Oh yeah,
old book, but
please.
everyone who's ever watched Jurassic Park, you need to read the book. That's my recommendation. Because the
There you
book
go.
is fantastic. It's very old, but yeah.
It's always the case, isn't it? The book is so much better than the
Mostly,
movie.
yeah, I think,
Yeah.
yeah.
Book reading is not a bad hobby to get back into in Sri Lanka these days, I'm assuming.
Yeah. That's what unfortunately my Kindle is not functioning, so I'm waiting for the new one, and I can't get any books. So I'm rereading. That's why I recommended Jurassic Park because I've been rereading it
Right.
because it's one of the few physical ones we have, the hard copies.
Nice.
Oh, yeah, I'm gonna add that to the list then.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I think we've spoken a lot about ICC events, Sri Lanka cricket, and thoroughly enjoyed having Estelle once again on the show with us. It's good to pick your brains, Estelle. You cover the game and you see it, really close, and to have your insight sharing with some of the listeners to see where things are and what happens. I've thoroughly enjoyed having that conversation with you.
no, thanks for coming, Essel. I mean, I'm sure this is not the last time. We'll keep contacting you to,
An
get.
honored guest.
Yes, we consider you as a friend of the podcast now. So every time Sri Lanka women's team plays, we want you to give us an update whenever you are free. And hopefully you'll get to go to England first, then come to Australia, then we can maybe record a podcast in person.
Yeah, that's the dream. Hopefully it works out. I mean, want to try and do some from the venue this time because Sri Lanka doesn't look like we'll be hosting anything anytime soon. Yeah.
All right. I think I'd like to wrap it up on that aspect with on the 8th marks International Women's Day, and we've had an honored guest in Estelle who covers women's cricket as well as the men's cricket as well as sports overall in Sri Lanka. An honored guest to have her, and I think when we release, we'll be releasing the pod on International Women's Day. So it's a lovely celebration to have such an honored guest on our episode here with us. So again, thanks a lot, and we'll be in touch to do a few more episodes down the line.
Thanks so much for having me, guys. Kind of a little embarrassed that you keep saying honored guest, but yeah, thank you so much for having me.
No, thanks so much. We'll chat soon.
Yes.
Okay, see ya.